You are listening to the audiobook, Yuri, Special Agent Mischa, written and produced by Boyd Craven III. Copyright 2025 by Boyd Craven III. Chapter 6. The morning wake-up was chaotic again. We hadn't drunk as much when we got back here, but I was in a strange place. I think it was the fourth time I'd ever slept in the cabin properly, but there were too many limbs on the bed. Limbs, buttocks, and boobs. When I got untangled, I saw Bitsy was cuddled into Claudia's chest, her hat and wig off. I think the sheriff might have been into Bitsy more than I, but she'd admitted over drinks in front of the fireplace that my forward manner and confidence attracted her, too. The only embarrassment, since this was her first time with another woman, was when I had to explain the hesitation on the sheriff's part to Bitsy. I was literally the only one who could put it into words since one couldn't talk, and the other was tongue-tied. I directed Bitsy, reading both of their body language, until both of them were pulling on my clothing to join them nearly an hour later, when they'd both nearly sated themselves. That hadn't been my first threesome, nor even my first threesome with Bitsy, but it had been Claudia's. I padded to the kitchen in a pair of boxers and got coffee going. I checked the fridge and saw that Bitsy had put the basics in there at some point. I checked the dates and saw they were within the last week. Bonus. I got the eggs, butter, and milk out. While the coffee machine was running, I padded over to the wood stove and loaded it up. It still had embers on the bottom, and soon, I'd have flames roaring again. I padded back to the freezer and opened it, expecting more vodka. I was right, but there was also a bag of shredded potatoes. I grinned and got those out. I grabbed a big cast iron pan from the hook on the ceiling and got it down. Dusty. I rinsed it, put it on the stove, and fired up a burner. As it started to warm and burn the water off, I looked in the cupboards and found some Crisco from this century. I found a spoon and got a scoop in the pan. As it melted, I killed the burner, walked the pan to the wood stove, and set it on top. I'd need an oven mitt or a handle cozy soon. I padded back to find that and heard my phone chirp. I snuck into the bedroom and got it, taking it back out to the kitchen. I saw I'd gotten a text from Carter. It was a time and date. I sent a return receipt as usual. An emoji of a peach and an eggplant. Buttfucker. I got a laughy face emoji back from him, then went back to the food. I got the cutting board out and got an onion from the hanging basket near the sink. I went ahead and cut the tops and bottoms off, peeled it, then diced it up quickly. I took that to the wood stove and slid them in with the knife. Then I added the frozen potatoes. After a little searching, I found a spatula suitable for cooking with cast iron. All steel. I did more digging and I found salt and pepper. I went over to spice things up, and as I was coming back, a very nervous-looking Claudia was staring at me from the doorway. She was in her underwear, but nothing else. Her heavy breasts were happy to be free, and I was delighted to see them. Oh, so happy. So very, very happy. You cook? She asked in a quiet voice. I try to, I told her. I'm going to do some hash browns and eggs if I don't burn things. She nodded and headed to the bathroom. A moment later, I was back at the wood stove. The fire had picked up, and things were starting to sizzle and smell good. I kept working on cooking it. I added lard once more, then got a stick of butter out. I added some to that as well before I started lining eggs up. I was going through the lower cupboards when Claudia came out. Can I borrow a shirt? She asked. Third drawer down. If you want some boxers or sweatpants, boxers are in the top drawer and sweats are at the bottom. Thanks, she said, tiptoeing out of the kitchen. There it is, I said, finding the trash can under the sink. I walked to the cook stove with a paper plate and 8 uncracked eggs. I set things down on the couch and stirred the hash browns again. They were almost ready. I went back to the kitchen, got a potholder out, grabbed the handle of the cast iron skillet, walked it back to the propane stove and set it down. Then I brought the rest of my ingredients back. The fire had grown a lot and was getting hot enough that it would be too hot to finish cooking things. I went back for the trash can and fired up the stove burner again, but this time on low. I pulled the trash bin under me and started cracking eggs in one side of the big pan. They sizzled as I worked my way through them all. I dusted them with salt and pepper, then started scrambling everything together. I was cooking slowly but listening. I heard rustling, and it sounded like more than one person was moving around. I set down 3 mugs and started pouring, my coffee pot stopping the drip as soon as I stole the carafe from it. When I had 3 mugs poured, I searched the cupboards and found the plates. I got 3 plates out along with forks. Finally, I found a new bottle of ketchup and hot sauce. I put both on the counter, making sure they were ready to go with the foil peeled off the tops under the caps. I ripped 3 lengths of paper towels off for napkins and went back to the stove. I stirred and flipped some more until I turned to see Claudia standing there. Her nipples were obvious in the black Nirvana t-shirt of mine she'd stolen. The match of one Bitsy had a smaller version of. I grinned, noting she'd taken my words to heart and had put on a pair of my boxers over her panties. They looked like shorts on her. I was about to ask her what she wanted for coffee when Bitsy ducked under her arm and headed to the bathroom. Listen, this doesn't have to be weird. I told her, sit, and I'll serve. It's not that, it's just that. This was your first time pursuing a physical relationship with another woman, let alone a man she was sort of in a relationship with. Both of us were willing and open to bringing you over for a night of fun with no strings. We are, or were, both spies for the USA. We don't kiss and tell. You should know that, but I'm being pretty plain so you understand that we're not weirded out, we're not judging, and we had just as much fun spending time with you, too. She opened and closed her mouth. I mixed and flipped. It was good enough. I turned off the heat and filled a plate with food. I put a fork on top, grabbed the coffee cup, and walked her way. Tell me what fixings you like for your coffee. And would you like hot sauce and catsup with your eggs? Black coffee and some hot sauce. I brought them back and then fixed another plate up and put it across from her. Claudia looked up at me guiltily, then back at her plate. Can I tell you something? She nodded. The toilet flushed, the sink ran, and a moment later, a topless Bitsy came in and sat down across from her. Bitsy leaned forward and pulled a hand to the middle of the table, where she held onto Claudia's with both of hers. Bitsy there. In her own way, she loves me something fierce. We'll always have a bond, and it's really easy to have a loving and physical relationship with someone like that. Do you follow me so far? I asked. Yeah, roughly, Claudia admitted. I put the plate down in front of Bitsy, who let her hands go. But that has nothing to do with desire, lust, and attraction. You're more the type Bitsy desires, not me. I mean, we have lots of wild, crazy monkey sex. She really isn't attracted to guys in general. Just like last night, you were more into her than you were with me, and I'm okay with that. Bitsy looked up at me, smiling, but Claudia looked up at me sharply, surprised by that statement. It's okay, Bitsy choked out, then coughed hard. Damn it, Bitsy, don't. She coughed but held a hand up to me. But you're attracted to her and me? Claudia asked after a moment. Yup, Bitsy and me? She's going to be with me until the day she leaves me, and that's her choice. So far, she says that's never. We've literally been through hell together, and we planned on spending at least the next 50 to 80 years enjoying heaven afterward. Whatever it is you're feeling, it's fine. We understand. A relationship like ours is weird by most people's standards. Because of what I used to do, Bitsy understood that sometimes I'd literally have to seduce a Saudi princess or, worse, her mother. I'd have to fake a relationship for months to get intel. By the way, no worries. I'm always safe and have my health checked religiously. So does Bitsy. Katerina. Kat. Claudia said, her voice more confident. Yeah, I told her, starting to fix my own plate. I took my stuff around the table and sat on the edge of the couch, putting my cup in the middle of them both. Then I dug in. I'm sorry that last night, that didn't bother you? She asked. What? That I waited a hella long time to dip my wick? Claudia's face went very red, but she was nodding, trying not to laugh at my crude humor. Honestly, the fact you called and invited us out to meet surprised me, and the fact you came back and got naked with us was icing on the awesome sauce cake. If you get over the shyness, I'd like to see if you and Bitsy, or the 3 of us together, have something to pursue. Until you're sure about how you feel about last night, though we won't push you. Bitsy nodded, then took a drink of her coffee. She screwed up her face, then gave me a thumbs down. Too hot? I asked her. She nodded. As I got to the fridge, I put my plate down on the counter. I found an ice tray in there and cracked out a cube. Sheriff? I asked her. No, thank you. You can call me Claudia. It's not that I didn't prefer you last night. I've never done that before and suddenly got shy and locked up. You were great, I told her. Walking over to drop a cube into Bitsy's mug, she gave me a thumbs up. So, to change the subject, you two don't live in this cabin. It's window dressing. We both looked at each other with wide eyes. Oh no, she caught us, I said in my best Gumby impersonation. Bitsy let out a silent giggle, then forked up a big bite. So it's true? She asked. Yup, this is the place I live as far as the public knows. I have 400 acres here and am trying to buy up all the land around me. So if that Phil LeBlanc wants to sell and quit being a pain in both of our asses, I'll buy whatever he owns too. It'd be cool to expand so that I don't have a ton of neighbors. What will you even do with all this land? She asked. I saw the propane truck, the tanks, and what looked like tracks where heavy equipment is stored in the other hut. Yeah, those are legit. I'll use them too, but I want the land because it's cheap and it buys me privacy. If you looked me up, you would have an idea what the last 2 years of my life have been like. Yeah, and from what I've seen of the bodycam videos and the DA's press conferences, they tried to railroad you into the electric chair. The last bit came out in a growl. Barbaric, wasn't it? But I was hired to expose corruption in the SLPD. I took a big risk, but it paid off in the end. You were... Somebody paid you to kill those cops? No, I'm not a hitman. Have I killed? Yes, many times. Those cops were just 2 of too many. It was part of the job to keep the country safe. Nah, I just wanted to trip some of them up who had a record of drinking on the job and using excessive force. When that cop went all in on trying to kill me, my training kicked in. I didn't have a choice. And the second one? She asked, scraping the last bits from her plate and taking a bite. He was dead the moment I punched him. I realized it belatedly, so I smacked his head on the corner of the table, crushing his skull between his forehead and temple. It would have been a much uglier death to slowly suffocate and choke to death on his blood over minutes. Unless they had a trauma doc or a combat medic there to do an emergency trach, he was toast. You know how to do that? It was a statement. In theory. I saw it on Grey's Anatomy. I lied. There was no way I was going to help the fucktard who attacked me twice. So you made millions and millions off setting up 2 cops, justifyingly killing them and getting away with it? That wasn't the plan, just how it worked out. What happened, though, is that my face is now public, as is my real name. The DIA can't send me for any more covert ops easily. Now that I've got my SOT and FFL, as well as other things, I can go back to research, development, and consulting. Wait, what? Claudia asked. Bitsy held up a finger and walked back to the bedroom. A moment later, she came out with a mini keyboard and started typing. Remember when Yuri said he started with DARPA? He's a mechanical engineer and an expert in circuit board design and robotics. He helped develop weapon systems that are widely used today. Many of the more advanced IED defusing robots and small land-based drone scouts are based on his designs from when he was a teenager. I'm a gun nerd. I'm now a DoD defense contractor who has put in his 20 years and is retired. I did a civvy job to hunt for corruption and got stuck defending myself, and was charged with murder. That's my glorious career in a nutshell. Also, I need to wait for about 24 or 5 years to collect my pension. Still have kick-ass healthcare, though. Bitsy snorted, giving me a thumbs up. She took a long sip of her coffee. I went ahead and dug into all of the food I had left while Claudia digested what we said. When I was done, I took all the empty plates and put them in the sink, then went back and refilled everyone's coffee mug. Before Bitsy could take a sip, I dropped a new ice cube in her mug. She blew me a kiss. You met Bitsy at work. Do you mind if I give her a hint? I asked Bitsy. She shook her head no and motioned for me to go on. So, I'm pretty much a hardware guy, right? Robotics, guns, anything mechanical. Hell, I even taught myself circuit board design and programming CNC machines. That's what I'm good at, but put me in front of a computer, and I'm probably better than 95% of the world's population. I think they said my IQ was 176, as well as me being a narcissist, but we all know that's not true. Bitsy made a twirling motion. Fine, fine. But Bitsy herself, she's software. She's data exploitation. She's a hacker. And so much more. She's so smart, and she makes me look super slow. She's a hacker, a software developer, a programmer, and an app developer. She makes her operating systems super encrypted communications. Secure comms are wide-open books to a woman like her. She used to be known as the snow leopard. A sharp gasp had both of us smiling at Claudia. She had a hand over her mouth. She's on the FBI's top 10. Fucking hell. Wait, Claudia, hear us out. I told her. She sat down, her chest heaving. Honestly, I had no idea she'd recognize that nickname. It had been a decade, and I'd forgotten the FBI put people up there and forgot them even when the agent had been flipped and was working for the USA now. Fine, she said, wiping at her eyes. The FBI knows. The CIA, the NSA, and the DOD also do. How do you think I smuggled her in from Russia and got her legit papers? They did the same thing to von Braun in World War II. Claudia visibly relaxed. You work for him? Bitsy shook her head and pointed to her sternum, her bare chest. You work for yourself? She asked. She nodded, then pointed at me and made a heart shape with both hands. But you love working with him? She shook her head and made the heart, then pointed to me. Wait, you love him. You work for yourself, but you help him. Wait, you work with him. You're his partner. Bitsy was nodding emphatically now. We both were running into bottlenecks. I needed a coder and hacker. She needed somebody to do hardware and wet work. I literally broke her out of a state-sponsored malware data center /gulag. She'd already been hurt at the time. Took us almost a year to get her strong enough to be able to walk around on her own. The damage to her lungs was pretty bad. Now though, apparently, she runs around the property here with her tits out all the time, giving fat lumberjack wannabes a stiffy. Bitsy let out a silent laugh. I went ahead and started draining my mostly hot, refilled mug. The caffeine was pretty good, too. You shouldn't have told me all of that, should you? Not at all. But I wasn't joking. I really want to retire, live the good life, have some privacy, and do more R&D. Maybe sell some more inventions and patents to the DOD. You're already bloody rich, aren't you? That's how you did this. Yeah, I told her, as is Bitsy. We both have an account that we share. I let her manage it all. Honestly, when I was waiting for the jury trial, she had control of everything. I did notice old articles about a Yuri Sokolov that patented a variable encrypted signal jammer thingy about 10 years back. Yeah, that one took forever to get through. The DOD wanted to keep that, and I'd already patented an earlier version of that before I signed on with them, so I got to keep the rights. They liked it so much that they bought me out. Gave me the seed money to start this place and start renovations. Wow. And you still work with them? She asked. Yeah, I have a new prototype to show my handler. Doubt they'll want it, but it makes the whole Dr. Evil vibe I like to play resonate in my soul. He made a better gun bot. Damn it, Bitsy. I forgot you had your talker with you. Sorry. You're too funny. When is Carter coming over? Tomorrow around lunchtime. How is he coming? Well, we have that heated helicopter landing pad 100 yards away. Might as well have him park it there. Unless he's coming via armored convoy. Makes sense. Claudia, do you have to work today or tomorrow? No, that's why last night. I nodded and she made her shot. Now, she was slightly unsure, but we'd filled in a lot of gaps. Honestly, Bitsy's secret wasn't that secret. If anybody got in trouble, it would be me for how I snuck her in. Things did get fixed. I didn't ask for permission all at once. Even the good bad guys have to have secrets from the good guys. Why did you ask us both out for a good time? I mean, do you have to rush to get home? Or do you like to do crazy shit and have fun? Crazy shit. We have half a dozen new quads that need to be broken in. We also have a stream that runs into a large retention pond. Yuri had me dig with the big scoop machine. The stream eventually leads to the big lake, but there are big, shiny fish in there if you like that stuff. Claudia smirked at that. You have lake trout in your pond to fish, and you have quads to ride. And the other day you said you had a massively oversized gun range for taking long shots? So tell me, do you two have anything fun to shoot? Bitsy smirked. Chapter 7. I was cooking 6 fillets on the charcoal grill when the sound of a turboprop helicopter caught my attention. I grinned, knowing who it was, and my phone dinged. Safe to land? Yes, have company so no crazy shit is out. I turned my attention back to the grill and got a lemon wedge. I squeezed it over the fillet I was cooking, skin side down. When I was done with all 6 fillets, I salted and peppered all of them before pulling the grill closed. For good measure, I held the lid down as the helicopter hovered over the property for a minute before coming down. The blades still whooshed even after the engine was cut, but it didn't take long for the wind gusts to die away from the landing. Note to self: be ready to save the grill when it is taking off later. I opened the grill again, seeing the fish mostly cooked through. I flipped the fillets so the other side would get some flame searing and closed the grill as Carter got out of the now-still helicopter. I waited until he was close and flipped the grill back open. Perfection. I killed the heat and started sliding the fillets onto a baking sheet I took from the kitchen. Yuri, are you grilling fish? Yeah, lake trout. Hope you're hungry. Oh, and before we talk shop, you mentioned you had guests. Who? He was straight to the point. The Marquette County Sheriff, Claudia Clausen. Is this a professional call that she's here for? He asked stiffly. Nah, she invited me and Bitsy out for dinner. We invited her back here for the night. That's been 2 days, I think. I told him. Wait, I'm confused. I thought you and Bitsy were together. We are? But we both met Claudia and liked her enough to invite her back here for fun and games. She's a killer Monopoly player. Don't you dare land on the boardwalk, though. I can never tell when you're messing with me. Are you? Wait, you're serious? As a heart attack, Carter. I shot the sheriff. Well, I brought her back for some discreet and messy fun with Bitsy. Considering the mess you just got out of, nothing should surprise me. This last bit came out in a grumble. Let me get the food inside and make sure the girls are dressed. I'll be right back. As I was sliding into the cabin, I heard him curse and then mutter, "Unbelievable." I almost did an evil villain snicker, but I held off. Bitsy and Claudia were at the table, chatting softly. Claudia had gotten over the shyness, and that first awkward morning turned into a very passionate afternoon, evening, and morning, and here we were. Food is ready. I know you both heard Carter fly in. I just wanted to make sure everyone was decent before inviting him in. They both nodded, smirking. Okay, Carter. Today there are no cheap thrills. Come on in and let's fix you a plate. He walked in, adjusting his tie. His penchant for light gray or blue suits was nearly legendary. People said he went into jungle training wearing a suit and came out with it just as pressed and impressive as he went in. Fucking liars. Still, it made for a good conversation around the water cooler. I'd already plated 4 side salads ahead of time and slid a fillet on each plate. Carter slid up next to me, his stomach rumbling. Why the hell do you live way up here? Resources must be a pain. This close to the Arctic Circle. I chuckled. Lots of copper and iron mines up here. I could easily go west to Wisconsin or northeast into Canada to buy things I can't get right in town. Plus, we have almost an entire square mile of land. Carter whistled. Well, I do love what you've done with the place. It's cozy. Eat up. Then I'll take you to the shop and we can talk. Shop. The girls caught lunch yesterday, and I cleaned the fish. Today, I grilled them and the marinade, lemon juice, and seasonings made it just... I was happy with my cooking for once. The salads were perfect with the huge slab of fish. We all ate our fill. I even got Carter a glass of vodka as I was imbibing as well. When we were done, the plates were rinsed and we both got up. Claudia, we'll be right back. Okay? Secret squirrel stuff. I understand. You can't talk about it without having to kill me first or after. And honestly, I should get going soon. Honestly, how about you and Bitsy hang out? She can listen in with her earbuds and use her talker tablet to message me if she needs to answer a question or correct me. We're usually on the same wavelength, so it's almost mind-reading. But communicating is usually my thing with Carter because she's kind of shy. Bitsy nodded, her hand under her chin, staring at the pretty sheriff. Claudia blushed but nodded. I walked out with Carter following me. Once we got into the shed, I hit the lights and locked the door. Should be safe to talk now, I told him. We're looking for somebody to come up with a light rail gun. Lower power but high velocity. What's the payload? I asked him. Tungsten rod. Oh, come on, man. The rods from God have already been done. I complained. This isn't space-to-ground warfare. It's more lateral. Satellite to satellite? I asked him. Yes, and we need targeting software to go with it. When the project came up, I knew it was perfect for the both of you, but then your stupid ass got locked up. What the hell, man? It was the job. It's not the killing of the cop or getting locked up, though. That was just a symptom of how corrupt that precinct was. I lost almost 2 years of my life. Hope the job was worth it, Carter grunted. Pays more than you guys, and I'm not making doomsday WMDs with depleted uranium and paperclips. Smart ass. I never should have told you to watch Wayne's World. Party time excellent, I said in my best Mike Myers impersonation. Okay, so send me the general specs on the platform this is going to be used on. Bitsy and I can probably send you a prototype in a month or so. Obviously, we have to do our own testing here and recreate the situation on the ground since I'm guessing there are no test shots and adjustments once it's used the first time. You would be correct. And you think you can get it done in a month or so? Carter asked me dubiously. No, but I like to overpromise and underperform. Wait, I got that backwards? Or did I? Carter sighed. Do you even care about price? Well, yeah, that's why you pay me the big bucks. At least 1 or 2 whole numbers together with at least 6 zeros on the end. Wait, what? Carter asked, surprised. My last job paid out already. I honestly don't have to work. I'm doing this with Bitsy because I'd get bored if I didn't work, and we're both patriots. We also know you vastly underpaid us when we were with you guys, and I get to keep my patents. This one will never be patented, or if it does, you're selling it to us. Carter's words came out as a grumble. And that's why I get paid a whole number or 2, with 6 or more zeros after it. I'm not only selling you the weapon, but I'm also selling you the concept and patent so nobody else can build it. That's worth a lot of money, and let's be honest. The Pentagon alone can't account for what, close to $1 trillion, and you're asking me to design, make, and sell you the plans to a weapon system that can take down alien starships. It's other satellites, he said, pinching the bridge of his nose. I will also need to give you a list of microchips and tech that's on our country's banned import list for this. I'm out of some stuff and can't source it legitimately. If you could give me an exception, or if you happen to lose a crate on my back door, that would help me make the earlier time frame. If I have to wait for smugglers and slow boat shit, it's 4 to 6 months. Carter cursed. Yeah. Give me a list. I'll run it up the chain of command. Hell, DARPA may have some of it already, but if they do, you have to reimburse them for what you use on this project. Anything else? Are you sure it isn't a ship-to-ship gun? I mean, your attitude and the subject matter makes me think you got anal probed by an alien, and that's why you've got such a hard-on about blowing shit up in space. I liked you better when you still worked directly for me. Love you too, Snookums. I told him sweetly. My phone buzzed. Ha 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 ha. Making the railgun was easy peasy. In fact, I machined out 2 of them. The hard part was powering it, targeting it, and finding somewhere to fire it. Because, unlike a rifle, this had the potential of a projectile that could rival that of a warship's cannon or towed heavy artillery. Having power was easy for me to fix. Bitsy fired up all 3 of our 15-kilowatt generators. The programming of the targeting system was also easy peasy. I stole the advanced targeting module, I put it on the gunbot, and patented that entirely. Then Bitsy did all the crazy fuzzy math about a planet in motion, how far away from gravity it was, how to lead the shots, and something about celestial pixies. Fun shit. She said it was all dialed in. That's why I was on the backhoe today. I dug out the dirt behind the backstop and started filling it back in with rocks, cement slag, and finally, dirt. I didn't want to crack the crust here, nor blow up the big hills that made up a big chunk of my land. See, most railguns on a ship use about 5,300 kilowatts of power. I had 45. This actually worked well, though, because if I was firing from space to space, without friction, I didn't need to use as large, nor as heavy, an armament. That let me go with lower power. Here on the ground, though, where there was friction, I'd have to kill at least 1 or 2 barrels in testing, and Bitsy would extrapolate the data and do the software fix before we handed it off to Carter's people. I couldn't have over-engineered the barrel to make it last for more than 1 shot because then it'd be too heavy of a payload and require more power, and it was easier to make disposable barrels and risk frying out the electronics for that 1 perfect shot. Cheap and easy. The Navy spent billions developing their shit, and I was doing despicable me shit for the cheap price of $6 million, roughly about half of what I threatened Carter with. Plus, once the technology was perfected, I could keep it for myself. You never know when you'll need your own supervillain death ray machine. Bitsy and I set up the railgun at the far end of the range. We used a laser to bore sight it and set up the software. Bitsy could math out the friction, drift, and distance, blah blah blah. Ready? Bitsy nodded. This was going to be so fucking cool. Aim! Bitsy's auto-targeting was already locked on the bullseye. Fire! I yelled. I was wearing an old Vietnam-era M1 pot helmet in a small, concrete, reinforced pillbox 100 yards from the gun. We both had foam earplugs in. It was going to be loud, but not as loud if we were closer to the weapon system. Of course, we had a dozen camera systems around the site, including several high-speed cameras to record as much as we could. The showmanship was as much for the DoD as it was to assuage my own immaturity and juvenile urges. The air suddenly tasted like ozone, and I was deafened. It all happened at the same time as the earthen berm, wooden crossties, and rocks just died. They were thrown hundreds of feet into the air. Bitsy's eyes went wide, and she killed the main power feed to the railgun. Her eyes were large, and she started jumping up and down, pointing at her computer screen. One of the high-speed replays showed part of the tungsten rod hitting the bullseye before it disintegrated. She replayed it again and again. "Is this repeatable?" I asked her. She nodded so hard that while she was dancing, she fell forward. I caught her before she bashed her head. While she rushed back to her computer, I ran out to the railgun. I could feel the heat from about 3 feet away, and I knew better than to touch it. In the cold of space, right after firing, we'd theorized that the barrel may hold up for more than 1 shot, maybe 2. Here on Earth, we were pretty sure this barrel was slagged. I didn't care. It fucking worked, and I could mill out a new barrel in less than a day. Let's fucking go. I didn't want to leave the gun there, but I didn't want to wait 2 hours for it to cool before I inspected the damage downrange, so I ran back and checked on Bitsy. She was going through raw data, a program running on her laptop, compiling something. I could figure it out, but I didn't care. I wanted to check if the whole forest was knocked down and burning, or if we drilled a hole into China. "Bitsy, I'm gonna hop on a quad and see if we burned anything down." Most of the energy was transferred to the ground, but I know for sure it made a big hole out of that hill. "You want to come?" She waved me away and turned to her computer. I gave half a wave back and hopped on my quad. It fired right up and I raced off. Right off the bat, I could see that the passing of the rod close to the ground had nearly lit the grass on fire. If it had been dry out, it would have been. With it being a wet midfall, though, it took me a minute to make sure the path between the gun and the target wasn't on fire. When I got to where the target had been, dirt, wood, and rocks were just thrown as if artillery had dropped something big and nasty right on that spot. It wasn't quite a bunker buster, but I knew we'd just changed the entire game of lower-powered railguns. It wasn't a new concept, but the advanced tracking system I made and the software to go with it, the size and portability and adaptability, we earned that money. Luckily, the top of the hill and the ground 20 feet behind it were torn up, but nothing else had been hit. The tungsten rod was buried deep beneath the earth. Nothing was even in front of our property until the big lake, so there was no tectonic plate shift from evil science experiments. Muahahaha. Now I just needed minions. I turned and saw. A little minion? 2 little minions? What was that? If I had to guess, the kid was in his mid-teens. His sister looked slightly older, and her jaw was hanging open. I walked back to my quad and turned it off. I pocketed the key before approaching them. "Guys, you're on my property," I told them. "Nah, we're not across the fence," the girl told me. 50 feet beyond the fence is my property line. I brought the fence line in so I had a clear view beyond it. "Why are you here?" "Heard the big equipment earlier. Was curious?" The boy said. "So what was that?" "You kids need to get off my property," I told them. "You can't just go around blowing stuff up. That's illegal," the bratty girl said loudly. "Okay. You both came here on quads, right?" I asked them. They nodded. "Then get the fuck on them and get the fuck off my land, or you're going to be walking back and dealing with the sheriff." "Fuck off, asshole," the girl screamed. "Oh fuck this shit. Bitsy, are you hearing this?" My phone buzzed, and I pulled it out. I texted Claudia, "But you should call 911. I went ahead and dialed it. "You're the fucking pervert that has all the naked ladies on his land." "Huh?" the boy called. 911. "What's your emergency?" "Hi. My name is Yuri Sokolov. I have SOT in Class 7 FFL and have 2 teenagers who are trespassing on my gun range while I'm firing off ordnance, and they're refusing to leave." "Pervert," the boy yelled. "Sir, what is the nature of your emergency again?" the operator asked, the connection sucking. "Somebody is yelling over you in the background. That's some fucking teenagers who walked onto my firing range." I told them. "They're refusing to leave my property." "Firing range?" "Sir, we don't have one in this county," she lied. "I do. It's a private one on private land. Listen, get a hold of Sheriff Clausen or Deputy Mikhail. If these idiot kids sneak onto my firing range, they might get hurt. If they don't tone shit down and get off my land, I'm going to treat them as hostile." "Sir, you're surrounded by state land in most areas. I own close to a square mile myself." "Okay, whatever. If you don't want to help me, I get it. I won't be responsible when they've been hurt after being warned off my land and am firing off ordnance. I was way over the top, but this bitch on the phone was stupid." "Sir, unless you have the proper licensing, what your—" "Bitch, I do. I can manufacture, own, and operate Class 3 and 4 weapons. I'm retired DoD Special Agent Yuri Sokolov and a DoD defense contractor. Send the cops now or I'm arresting these fuckers myself. Do you fucking hear me? Are you going to quit telling me what I can and cannot do? You glorified fucking telemarketer." "Units are on the way," she said simply. I turned to stare at the kids. The boy ran for his sister, trying to pull her away. "No, I'm not going. He can arrest us, I don't care. Fuck you, fuck your fence, fuck your property. Our family has been coming out here for as long as my father's been alive. He'll fuck your shit up. He's redneck as hell, he doesn't fucking care." "Oh yeah? Who's your dad?" I asked, already knowing. "Phil LeBlanc," the girl said, stomping her foot. "Oh yeah? Did he tell you how he tried hitting on my girl and almost ended up pissing his pants when I got up in his face?" "Yes, I was being petty. My dad wouldn't hit on your skank bitch," the boy yelled. "He's married to my mom." "Very married, I'm sure," I told him with a smirk. "Sir," my phone squawked. "Our officers are being held up at a heavy gate. Apparently, we had units in the area from another call." "Fine. I have to get off here. It seems these kids are the bastard children of Phil LeBlanc." "Do you copy?" I asked her. "This glorified telemarketer copies you. 5 by 5. She shot back with attitude. "Lady, if you listened more and talked less, we could have already finished this." I hit end, toggled over to contacts, and hit dial. "I'm here. I'm getting the state boys to back out. I have Mikhail with me. I can't remember the gate code. Is everyone okay?" Claudia's words came out in a rush. "How are people here already?" I asked her. I would have to hide the railgun quickly. It was legit, but I didn't want people talking about it any more than this incident. The kids obviously saw the results of the tungsten rod hitting the target. 2 troopers and 2 sheriff's department vehicles. We all got called for a noise complaint about an hour ago. They said he heard explosions and heavy machinery. I can't remember the code at the moment. The kids belong to fuckface LeBlanc. They're the fuck trophies of that fat ass. I need to get Bitsy to open it for you. I'm on a quad. On the north fence, about 3/4 back at my range. Is that your mute girlfriend? You fucking pervert? The boy screamed. How he knew I had no idea. But how would I be talking to a mute woman on the phone? This guy was a mental giant, just like his father. Put me on speaker now, Clausen demanded. I did, holding the phone out in front of me. Philly and Jill. This is Sheriff Clausen. Remember me? They swallowed, suddenly looking less than stellar. Yes, ma'am, the boy stuttered. Are you past the clear-cut area where the trees were? We're right up against the fence, he told her. Did Mr. Sokolov tell you that the clear-cut area is on his land and that his fence is 50 feet inside of his property line, so he has a good sight line for his gun range? Yes, ma'am, but my daddy says his fence doesn't mean shit, and we should be able to use the old trails like we used to, Jill snarked. Your daddy is wrong. Jill, I'm disappointed with you. You kids head back to your place. I'll have Deputy Mikhail meet you there with the state police. Since I'm waiting to get in, here comes Katerina. And Yuri? I'll meet you at the bench at the range. Okay? The kids began moving to the woods, where they had left their quads. The boy flipped me off, following his sister. Yes, ma'am, but just you or Mikhail. It looks like you scared the piss out of the kids, so they're gonna head back home. Okay, and are you planning on pressing charges? She asked. Yes, they're up against the fence line where I shoot. If they suddenly walked into something, well, that's why I have a fence. If I have to put up a second one 50 feet from the first and line the property with cameras, I will. Copy. I'm through, sending the other 3 vehicles to LeBlanc's. Clausen out. I hit end, turning to the kids. You know, last time the sheriff was out here, it was because your dad took a swing at me in the bar. He was hitting on my girl. Ask Deputy Mikhail why your dad is pushing you guys. Just don't fall into the trap because today you almost walked into something that would have ended you. You can't walk through or ride through my gun range. Fuck off, pervert, the boy said, then ran for his quad. The girl lingered for a moment longer. Asshole, she muttered. Hope your stint in juvie isn't horrible. As somebody who's done hard time, I have a little tip for you. Don't drop the soap. Yes, I was an asshole, but I was pissed. It also hadn't occurred to the kids that Sheriff Clausen knew exactly where my shooting bench was or how the property was laid out. They would, though, and hopefully I threw enough discord back on the LeBlanc household. I was really starting to get a bad feeling, though. The lunatic had sent his kids to check things out here. I was legit. I actually had a bunch of legal paperwork I'd filed years ago and maintained. I had a strong room in the far Quonset hut where I kept things I expected the ATF or other federal agencies to see. Hell, if they dug deep enough, they might find the scattered crews who came in to do the concrete work. But I bet they didn't, because they had something to focus on. I just hoped I had something good in the lockup. Some NFAs and Class 3s. It'd be interesting if I ever did get a checkup or raided. As it was, with just Claudia barreling up my way, I doubted I had time to hide anything. She sort of knew we did this sort of thing, but was she ready for? Oh hell, how could I hide the massive power lines that ran from the huts? Shit. I was kicking up mud with the quad's rear tires as I raced back down to the bench and the rounded cement pillbox we spent a week constructing, so we'd have somewhere safe to test things and keep Bitsy's electronics dry. I heard a couple of beeps from Bitsy's Honda, so I sped up. Crossing the hill, I saw both her and Sheriff Clausen on the ATV. A moment later, I was there, getting off. The sheriff was speaking into her radio. When she got off and walked forward of the pillbox, though, she stopped and just stared. Are you on an open mic? I asked her, walking up. No. It seems like the kids are nearly back at their parents' house, according to Deputy Mikhail. Good. On a personal note, how are you doing? I asked in a softer tone. She took a deep breath. This is fucked up. What the hell is that? I knew what she was pointing at. You know where I used to work, right? What I said was that I was consulting for the DoD and the military, right? Yeah. Wait. Yeah, you're probably going to get visited by somebody from a federal agency who will tell you to keep your mouth shut about this. Honestly, though, this is a good thing. It'll keep other civvies away if at all possible. What happened? She asked, staying a good 10 feet away from the railgun. Test fire for function and accuracy. We just sent 7 pounds of armament downrange. How fast was it? Bitsy. Bitsy held up 2 hands. One had 2 fingers and the other had 5. 2,500. Huh? Dang. Thought it'd be better. 2,500 feet per second or miles per hour? Claudia asked in a small voice. Oh no, not at all. Wow, okay. Because for a second there I was kind of freaked out. Yeah, if it only went 2,500 miles an hour, I'd want to hang myself because that would have defeated the entire point. I should have shut up, but I didn't. Claudia turned my way and walked to me slowly. I waited as she stopped just in front of me, putting a hand on my shoulder and another on my hip in a familiar way. I smiled. Gosh, you're so pretty, I said like a mental giant myself. That made her smirk. She arched an eyebrow. 2,500 what? Meters per second. Just about 5,000 miles an hour? Or Mach 5 or 6-ish. Just firing this off heated the air enough that it almost lit the grass on fire from 5 feet above it. That's why Phil sending those kids my way freaked me the fuck out. If they had been any closer to the shot, the passage of well, just the air tearing by them at 5,000 miles an hour would have been no big deal, but the heat might have been. As it was, I was a good 75 feet from the edge of my property, right in the middle of my firing range. Show me the target, then where they were. I nodded. I saw Bitsy waving to me, then making the finger poke motion again, her tongue hanging out the side of her mouth. I chuckled, and Sheriff Clausen turned and grinned. I broke contact and went to my quad and got on, firing it up. Claudia got on behind me a moment later. When I felt her hands on my shoulders, I took off. It took us a good minute to get to the old railroad ties where we had shot the shit out of a ton of guns a few weeks back. Holy shit, that one shot did all of this? She asked as soon as I killed the quad's engine. I nodded. She walked around inspecting everything. I saw the red lights of her body cam on. I got my phone out and went ahead and texted Carter. One of those, call me very quickly, buddy. When she was done, she just stared at the destruction. Chapter 8. I was showing Sheriff Clausen where I had talked to the kids. It was pretty easy to see where they had walked through the deep grass, right up to the fence, and the tracks of their ATVs. That's when my phone rang. Hello, Sully, I answered. Mr. Sokolov, I'm guessing, based on the urgency you noted, that you aren't calling to set up delivery? Actually, kind of. We just had a very successful test fire of the product. The problem was, unknown to Falcon Defense Industries, 2 civilians had breached containment and gotten eyes on the results of the testing. There is no proof they have any recordings, though their relative seems antagonistic and sent them here. I had to have civilian law enforcement come to remove them. Yeah, it's better than having to go all Fargo on them. How old were they? At a guess, 15 and 17 years old. Sheriff Claudia Clausen is also here with me. Luckily, she was the one to respond here. She saw the prototype and the damage. What are you asking of me? Carter asked. Somebody needs to take care of her paperwork, and it'd be good to have a local authority to run interference. I figured when you met her that you already did the background and got the ball rolling. I did at that. I also got the ball rolling on your reinstatement. Fuck. Carter, I'm done. I'm retired. You can't just keep. Your security clearances have been fully restored, your oaths are still considered active, and if somebody runs you, you're going to come back to the last position you held at the agency. For paperwork purposes only. Oh, but I'm not actually going to be forced back? Hell no. Your taste of freedom has turned you into an unemployable jackass. I still have to know, though, how the test was performed. Bitsy is still running the numbers, but a quick glance at her screen showed me we should have accuracy in the atmosphere of 1 square foot over 200 miles. Time to target once fired? He asked. We mathed it to be less than 5 seconds to 200 miles. It's low power, too, at 45 kilowatts. As you requested, it's a fire and forget system. Wait, will We came in 50 pounds under your requirements. Most of the weight is in the barrel and armament, stuff. Carter groaned. Claudia's eyes had gone very large, though, since I had all of this on speaker. And accuracy outside of the atmosphere? He asked. It should be significantly better for longer distances, too. Bitsy put an algorithm in there to calculate gravitational pull and the speed of the Earth's rotation. You're going to have the best of the best, my friend, and it won't take you a supercarrier to power it. I'll have a team there tomorrow, as long as you didn't slag the only prototype? It's still too hot to get close to. I built 2, though, and they are totally identical in everything. It's been sighted and calibrated the same as the first one. It's even fancier. Custom paint job special for you and everything. Are we still on budget? He asked suddenly. Yeah, over 25% of the contract was to go to the prototype's test shot as proof of concept and all the data for it. If it survives, I'll send it along too, along with the tungsten alloy needed for, the one intended to go with you. You're also getting a handy-dandy laptop with all the software necessary to run it. I know your techs will have integration questions, but Bitsy's ready to help answer whatever and be on hand for remote tech support. Good. Sheriff Clausen, this is Sullivan Carter, Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. I'm sure you heard all of this. Your country appreciates your discretion. Can I trust you to keep this all under your hat until tomorrow when my agents fly in, and you sign all the NDA paperwork? It'll save me from having to deal with the local FBI and read those assholes into this. I won't say anything, but am I cleared to know whatever test fired here was? Sure, like I said, just don't spill this. I know you're still on an investigation, but this is national security at stake. Yuri and Bitsy have just developed and successfully test-fired a low-powered, lightweight, portable railgun. It's designed to be used in space, but obviously, there are applications within the atmosphere if it can hit a 1-foot square from over 200 miles away. I'm guessing power generation is the limiting factor, but we have things that are more efficient than what Yuri has available in atmospheric warfare. I mean, if you want to get me a small portable nuclear reactor to power my stuff, I'd probably give you a huge discount. I could do a whole lot more with building weapons to fight off the Archons. I'm sorry, who are the Archons? Claudia asked, her eyes so wide that it looked like I could almost see into the back of her head. The aliens who abducted Carter and anal probed him. I really hate you sometimes, Carter muttered, making me burst into laughter. There are no aliens, Carter said after Clausen was quiet for way too long. Oh right, sure. So what time should I be here tomorrow? 1 p.m. for the paperwork. The rest of the time, I'm sorry, but I can't read you in further than that. Our experts are shy, and even their names are classified. Not a problem. I need to get going. My radio is blowing up, and I need to go to the neighbor's property. That's fine, Sheriff Clausen. Yuri, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Make sure everything outside is secured, and I'm bringing in a heavy lifter. Yes, sir, we'll have everything ready and crated. I have forks and a Rough Rider forklift I can use to load it for you. Good. Thank you, Yuri. Until tomorrow. He hung up, so I pocketed my phone. I walked back to my quad and fired it up. Claudia got on and wrapped her arms around my waist this time and leaned her head on my shoulder as I started back to the pillbox. You're both mad scientists, essentially? Yeah, we're absolutely despicable. We just need some yellow minions named Kevin. Although Bitsy's too cute to be Dr. Nefario. And you're too handsome to be Gru, she purred. I think I've finally figured you out, I told her. Yeah? She asked. Next time you get a few days off, come on over and we'll talk about that. Anyways, I paused as we both bumped from a dip in the ground. Do you need one of us to go to Phil's place so we can press charges? Not going to let that go? She asked. No. Personally, I think the entire family that I've met has a terminal case of the stupids. I hate to look at kids and think they're destined to eat a bullet or OD, but those two are just that fucked up. You're horrible. They're children, she said, smacking my stomach. Yeah, but did you catch Agent Carter's unalive statement? Go all Fargo on them. I felt like that was a joke, she muttered. Not if he thinks two miners saw a revolutionary new weapon system that can shoot targets out of space without leaving the atmosphere in a matter of seconds, unlike ICBMs. Shit, holy shit. Yeah, holy shit. I called him to save their lives, not complicate yours. And dark humor is how I cope. I thought I could buy up a ton of land up here, fence it in, and be left alone. Maybe you can buy Phil's property? After tomorrow, I'm going to be buying up anything around me I can. Even the state land to the north of me, I told her. The DNR sometimes does swaps, but I've never heard of them just outright selling the land. It's actually, well, when Karen gets somebody local up here to network with, I'll have them handle it. I do need Phil to respect my boundaries, though. Today could have turned deadly. Speaking of, Bitsy was waving at us. Samsonite-type cases already strapped down to her quad. She'd packed up the electronics package. I let out a sigh of relief. Bitsy, let's park this and take the truck to meet our neighbors. She shot me a thumbs up. How does she, She has an earpiece and can open a connection up on my phone, so she can listen in to whatever's going on around me. If I have the phone out, she can do the same with the camera. Bitsy was nodding, but she fired up her quad and took off before more questions could be asked. This truck had every option, but the one I was really abusing was the sound system. For the second time, I was driving and insisted that I had control of the radio. Bitsy was pouting, but when my music started blasting, she opened her eyes wide and cranked the speakers. She'd gotten the upgraded music system by a lot. Then she did her Bitsy magic on it. Son by Rammstein started blasting, despite Sheriff Clausen being half a mile ahead of us. I'm sure she even felt the music. I cranked it more, imagining woodland creatures fleeing before the massive truck, belching diesel fumes and damaging anybody's hearing that was close enough to sing the refrain along with us. Sadly, Bitsy and I were mostly used to this. I tended to like the same music, but she was more Eurotrap metal and I was more deathcore/industrial. Just as the song was ending, I hit pause on my phone as I saw several state police SUVs and the sheriff's SUVs parked in front of a driveway. Two double-wide trailers sat on blocks 100 feet from the roadway, along with an older pole barn that had seen better days and needed new tin on the roof. Several quads were parked in front of it. I went ahead and pulled past them all and parked on the edge of the road just around the corner. "Ready for the dog and pony show?" I asked her. She nodded, then opened the glove box. She pulled out a holstered pistol and 2 spare mags. I took them, noting she'd gone with my Glock 10mm. I grinned. Nothing says fuck you, I hate you quite like a 10mm to the face. I opened my door and slid out. I put the IWB holster at 5 o'clock and pocketed the 2 spare mags. Then I pulled the pistol and press-checked it. I went ahead and put it back in the holster, pulling my shirt over. Next, she handed me a collapsible baton that I put at 9 o'clock, noting she had a skull metal tip on this one. Nice. Lastly, I made sure to hook my badge to my belt from my back pocket. Bitsy slid over to get out on my side. She put her hands out, so when she came my way, I caught her under the arms. I noticed she'd put on her wig and green cap again, turned backwards. Again. She was just too damned cute. She grinned up at me and playfully punched me in the stomach. Her shirt moved just enough to see that she was packing her favorite pistol as well. Whether or not she was allowed to carry was a gray area, but I wasn't going to arrest her, since I had gotten back on the books, so to speak, though. Carter said my inactive status was revoked. This for paper only. I'm technically an agent again. Bitsy stared up my way, then reached up and touched my cheek. I leaned down and pressed a kiss on her forehead. She gave me a nod, then took my hand. We walked slowly to the congregation of cops and white trash in the driveway. I stopped 15 feet in from the road and waited for them to notice us. "Hey, it's that fucker. He's the one who pulled a gun on me. Get off my fucking property." I'm 15 feet exactly from the road. I'm still on public property and had the foresight to stop at the barrier unless asked by you or civilian law enforcement to approach. Your children are very lucky, and I hope they don't take after you. Excuse me? The fuck did you say? He pushed his way through the cops, storming my way. Claudia started drawing a taser, but I shook my head no. I said I hope your kids are smarter than you. Bitsy, would you mind holding my flannel? She nodded, so I pulled it off, handing it to my left. With her hands full, we had a chance to get out of here without bloodshed. Well, not as much. Phil was the man-baby with the IQ of a turnip. He might just start a fight here. Wait, you're a cop? He stopped 5 feet from me. Special Agent Yuri Sokolov, counterterrorism with the DIA. My associate and partner, Katerina Rylova, whom you met and tried to pick up at the bar a few weeks back, and caused our altercation. The one you claim was mowing my property in the nude or topless when you made complaints to the local police. I wasn't hitting on no scarred-up bitch, Phil said, spitting on the ground. Bitsy took her hat and wig off, causing him to stumble back in surprise. She then put them back on. You were, but she likes to wear a wig and hat in public. Unfortunately for you, your wife and kids just heard you admit you were trying to pick up someone else's woman, and now you understand why I hope and pray they are far smarter than you are. Now, it's come to my attention that you've been encouraging your children and others to trespass on my property. That land's been open for hundreds of years. We hiked, backpacked, and snowmobiled through there. If we didn't use your property, it would have been almost 2 miles out of our way to go around it. Well, that kind of sucks because did your kids tell you what they almost walked into today? I asked him. You were blowing up stumps or some shit. My son asked what the fuck you were doing, and you got shitty with them both. I didn't, but your son has no problem calling me a fucking pervert, quote-unquote, and besmirched the sheriff who I was on the phone with until she dressed him down. But he's sort of right, and I am a bit of a pervert. No, your kids were literally 5 feet away from my shooting lane. I don't understand. Have you ever shot a .50 caliber BMG from a Barrett before? I asked him suddenly, making the state police, who had been curious why this was a big deal, pay attention all of a sudden. No, big sniper round though, according to the movies, he said. Yeah, it's an anti-material weapon. It's meant to punch holes in engine blocks and defeat armor. It's also used to kill bad guys from a mile away. Funny thing though, a bullet that big, that fast. If your kids and their quads had cut through my property and I didn't know, that bullet wouldn't have stopped even if it had gone through both quads and both of the kids. That's my rifle range where I play with big shit. I own nearly a square mile of land, and I do use it. I will have helicopters fly in and out from time to time. Sometimes, I may even fly in and out of my property myself. Lord knows I have the license for it. I don't want that shit right next to my land, and you're going to scare all the game off. Most of the time, the things I test, I use a suppressor for. You can't do that, he shouted and raged again. I pulled the baton out with my fingertips and got the handle in my hand. I kept it by my leg. I can. I'm a federal agent. I have an SOT and several FFL classifications, including a number 7. I own and possess many weapons and devices. Do you know that cutesy stuff that says face front towards the enemy? I have those. It's legal for a guy like me. I'm not telling this to threaten you, but when I'm testing ordnance on my property, 75 feet inside my property, I don't need you, your wife, or your fuck trophies anywhere near there for safety's sake. Fuck trophies. You know, crotch goblins, ankle biters, scream demons, fuck trophies. Your kids, dumbass. You and your entire hillbilly hills have eyes rejects. Need to stay on your property unless you want to sell it. In which case, I'll buy it and you can move somewhere else. My combination of threats and an offer to buy his 100 acres confused him. His wife walked up, or more accurately waddled. I'm not judgmental, but I was praying she didn't have a heart attack as she went to stand next to her husband. You like them skinny, huh? I heard it too, you cheating motherfucker. Luann, it's not like that. I was with the guys and... You kids, come here, I growled. Their parents quit arguing for a moment as they both came to stand next to their parents. The boy was cringing. I have our entire verbal exchange recorded, and I have it on many camera angles. I was filming at the time you approached the fence. Would you like to tell the sheriff's department what it was you actually said to me, who put you up to it, and everything that happened today? The girl shook her head, but the boy remained mute. What were your words to me, Jill? Your dad is Phil LeBlanc and he's redneck as fuck. He doesn't care. Nobody spoke a word, but they all stared between the kids and the father. Phil, did you tell your kids you planned on attacking me? I asked him, keeping the baton down by my leg. He noticed it. Everyone noticed it. But they were all silent, watching. I didn't know it was you who was the neighbor. Okay? I'm sorry. Okay, fine. But really, your south property line? You're all safe there. Once you go into the clear-cut lanes on my property. I did that so I could see the clear fields of fire. I mean to shoot guns and blow shit up. Think of it like shooting lanes for deer, but it's for visibility so I don't accidentally kill somebody's kids when I'm testing out a new toy I made on the CNC. Okay? New toy. Agent Sokolov? Deputy Mikhail asked. Yeah, I made an M134 for shits and giggles. Kind of like those brownies I made for home ec in the 9th grade. Oh God. Don't, Mikey said with a groan. It was a social experiment, I told him. I'm almost too afraid to ask, but I have to know. One of the troopers said with a grin. Somebody kept stealing my food after home ec, so I made 2 brownies. One of them had cannabis oil in it, and the other had chocolate laxatives in it. So whoever was stealing food from my lunch would either get shits or giggles. Kind of sucks that he just didn't tell me it was the best friend tax, and somebody else got the giggles. The troopers burst into laughter while the LeBlancs just stood there. Bitsy stepped up to me, putting an arm around me. Are you cold, little Bitsy? I asked her. She nodded. So I took my flannel from her arms and wrapped it around her. She smiled at me and then turned to the family. The offer to buy your land is for real, I said to the family, but it was the wife I was looking at. It's only worth the land, really, she said. What if I offer you $300,000 for the 100 acres? I'm just going to fence it off if I buy it, and keep it as it is to give me more of a buffer between the road and my range. That way, you guys can buy something a bit north and east of here, maybe buy state land or closer to a big town. Pay cash for something. I can write a cashier's check today if you say yes. Don't listen to him, Lou. This property right here is worthless. It's mostly swamp for half of it, and it was my inheritance. I have a hard enough time paying the taxes on it with my Social Security. I will at least consider it. The big man looked down at his boots. Don't forget he was drunkenly trying to pick up skinny girls half his age at the bar, I said, backing up. Don't let him get off that easy. Bitsy started snorting and giggling silently. Officers, I think we're done here unless you have more questions for me and Bitsy. Otherwise, I think you should really talk to the kids and their father. Okay? They were nodding. When we got to the truck, I walked to Bitsy's door and opened it. I held it open and waited for her to crawl in to slam the door before going around to my side. I got it started and then waited for my phone to connect. As we drove away, Drowning Pool's iconic song, Bodies, started blasting.